Good morning, everyone. My name is Andy Duncan. I'm the CEO of Boardwalktech. I'm happy to be here today and walk you through the story of Boardwalktech. We are based in California, Cupertino, California. Our largest customers is Apple, so we're close by. And we also have an operation in Mumbai, India. And we're all about information fueling human intelligence. You guys are hearing a lot about AI these days, and we like to think that AI is a combination of human intelligence and artificial intelligence, and it's a very interesting time, certainly. Forward-looking statement and reminder, everything that I'm going to show you on numbers is in US dollars. So who is Boardwalk? So we are an enterprise SaaS technology platform that helps companies to digitally transform their business processes. While companies have spent a lot of money on their core systems of record, like SAP or Oracle, a lot of the work is still getting done outside of those core systems of record in manual processes. And so we help these companies to better improve the way in which they understand and manage their data. We've got multiple patents on what we call a digital ledger platform that allows people to be able to improve the way in which they're managing this data. We currently have over 20 of the Fortune 500 as customers today. So as a little company but growing quickly, we are proud to be able to have some pretty big name customers, which I'll show you in a little bit. 5.2 million of revenue, 4.2 million of ARR, and we continue to improve on our EBITDA numbers. As Charlie, our CFO, says, we're entering a high-class problem phase where we've got a lot more opportunities than we've got resources. So it's quite an interesting greenfield for us right now, and there's a lot of activity. One of the most startling statistics that if you take anything away from today other than the fact that Boardwalk is a cool company and you should be in the deal, is this statistic, which is that 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years. So think about that. Think about the amount of information that's flowing into any company or flowing into us personally. 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years. It is a data-centric environment. And many companies today that work to try and capture that information and transform that data, a lot of those projects fail. They end up back into more of a manual process. And you know, this is interesting from PwC. 83% of supply chain executives say that they haven't seen value in their data investments to date. So the overall theme here is data in an enterprise is a mess. And no one is really focused on capturing this data, improving it, and really understanding the value. And that's what Boardwalk is all about. How do we as a company help you better understand your data so that you can make decisions faster? So this is an example of what we see when we go into some of these large companies. Earlier, I talked about the fact that Coca-Cola has spent over $1 billion on SAP. Think about that, right? They have 60 implementations around the world of SAP. Yet if you go into Coca-Cola and you walk into one of their cubicles with an information worker, you know what they're working in? They're not working in SAP, they're working in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that is detached from the organization. So what we do is we help companies like Coca-Cola be able to capture that information in that spreadsheet, automate it, and create value by connecting it back into the overall system of record, and effectively take what is chaos on the left-hand side here and turn it into a managed environment, which is what the Boardwalk platform is all about. Okay? So we help companies take what is chaos and turn it into a managed environment. And of course, we charge money for that particular platform to be able to help them. The different use cases that we can work on are widely spread throughout an organization, whether it's finance, supply chain, HR, it doesn't matter. This problem is prevalent throughout any large enterprise, and it's all over the place. So these are some of the companies that we have today as customers that have this problem. We need to do a better job as a company expanding on our relationship with many of these companies, but we continue to do that, and we'll continue to drive revenue and create value for some of these companies. Companies like Levi's have been a customer of ours for 12 or 13 years, and some of the things that we do for these companies are actually mission critical. If we went in and turned off the server, they would really be in a lot of trouble. So that's obviously a very good position for us to be in. So the technology where we're solving the problem is that when we do go into an enterprise, we see two different forms or types of data. One is data that's in Microsoft Excel. The second is data that is documents or information signals that are coming from outside the organization, whether those are text messages, emails, whatever. Guys would be blown away if you sat and saw some of the processes that I see where literally hundreds of millions of dollars of goods are being moved off of a WhatsApp text message, right? And this is what's happening out there. All these fancy systems of record, but yet nobody's talking to each other, and it's all being done in a manual way. So one of our products, what we call Velocity, focuses on Microsoft Excel and creating a database behind Microsoft Excel that allows you to be able to work simultaneously with other people in these Excel spreadsheets, share this information, but most importantly is have a history of how the data has changed over time. And that's the digital ledger technology that we have. And it is very important to many people to be able to understand, how did this data mature? Where did this number come from? Who made this change? Really important. The second piece, or the second area where we focus is with a product called Unity Central that effectively manages all of the unstructured documents and data that's coming in that's not a spreadsheet, but everything else. So we have this ability in Unity Central to be able to aggregate the data that's coming in, create a curated data set of information to be able to then understand what's happening with my data. So like if you look at how you guys manage your data today, everybody in this room is a little bit different. Your file systems are set up differently, where you might save a file or a contract is different. And that's a very tough thing today for organizations. And then when you track back to the fact that 90% of the data in the world was created in the last 2 years, and you think about the pressure of how do I manage all of this data? How do I manage all this stuff coming at me? It's Unity Central. When you then layer on top of that, the fact that AI is going to be a very important thing going forward, right? I mean, look at NVIDIA. It is incredible what has happened in the market today with regard to the dream of AI. I still think we're in early phases. I also think that we've been using AI in just a different form or a different, and we've been defining it differently. But think about when you call into your drugstore to renew a prescription, you're not talking to a human anymore. And that is a machine learning or AI type of interface. And so now that's starting to transcend into more general business area or purposes. The problem with AI is not that these LLMs or these large language models aren't built to be able to go and pull data back to you and give you an answer. The problem is the data. The data is now so bad out there and so complicated that we're seeing hallucination rates on these AI queries that are 30 to 40% wrong. Hallucination rates, they call it. And so with Unity Central, When a company adopts our platform, we actually allow you to curate the data to be able to reduce the hallucinations and run any type of AI agent that you want to against that, to be able to eliminate or reduce the hallucinations and provide a better environment for you to be able to get an answer. Because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is organize the data to be able to understand it, to be able to make a query, to then be able to make a decision. That's what we're doing. So we're providing a better environment for people to be able to do that. So the sales model for Boardwalk is twofold. One is we have a SaaS model. We don't sell anything other than SaaS. We do have some customers that are installed behind the firewall, but that's because they're companies like large banks that don't want to run in the cloud, but we run part of the business in the cloud, part behind the firewall, but it's all SaaS. And we have two different models: a direct sales model where we have our own sales force and we go out and we work with large companies to allow them to be able to deploy the platform to improve their data and their processes that they have. And then the second area, and for those of you that know Boardwalk, you know that we've been working on this for the past year and a half or 2 years, is that we've entered into kind of a channel partner sales strategy where we've been able to sign a multitude of channel partners that are now out selling the Boardwalk platform and doing implementations for their customers on the Boardwalk platform. And you're going to continue to see us announcing new partners in this space. And we really are enthusiastic about this because if you can sell while you sleep, that's a really good thing. So one of the areas where we're very focused on with regard to our Velocity product with spreadsheets is in the financial services business. And our largest company, our customer in that space, is Citibank. We landed Citibank about 3 years ago, but it took us 2 years. Again, those of you who've been watching the company, it took us 2 years to get through the very difficult morass of a large top 5 bank in the world to be able to get our software installed and up and running. We finally got that done, and this past March, we started to implement across Citibank, and at one point, we had over 80 people working to deploy our software on Citibank. It's all about spreadsheets, and Citibank, again, while I have to be careful on non-disclosure, they literally have thousands upon thousands that need to be transformed over onto a platform that not only gets them into compliance, but also helps to improve the risk and the process flow of moving this data. Think about how important it is to have a digital ledger running with these Excel spreadsheets to be able to say, who made that change? What date was that change made to the value of that cell? Auditors need that data. The compliance people in the United States need this data. So this is an interesting article here back in October 7th of 2020, where one of the regulatory agencies in the US fined Citibank $400 million for not having all of this stuff in compliance. And it continues to expand. Like, they're not stopping these Excel spreadsheets that are being developed. In fact, they're accelerating within the organization. So we're really proud of the fact that we finally deployed. It's a terrific solution. We had one of their senior executives say if it wasn't for Boardwalk, we wouldn't have made our numbers last year with regard to compliance requirements. And we continue to expand there. And we also have multiple additional banks that we're engaged with, that we believe that as we continue to expand the product and improve the solution, that we will become a standard for improving the risk management and compliance in these banks. Another area where we do a lot of work is in supply chain. And so when we talked about things like companies like Levi's managing things like manufacturing, scheduling, and order management, it's a wonderful place for us to focus because there's not only a lot of unstructured documents and data that are coming in, but there's also a lot of spreadsheets that need to be organized. So if you can do things like, by improving the process, provide a 3-day quicker response time to a quote, you actually can increase your sales conversion by 15 to 20%. And that's all about automation as opposed to just opening up an email and then forwarding it or filling out a spreadsheet. And this is exactly what we do. So when we look at ROI and the ability for us to deliver value, it can be very significant for a lot of these companies. Again, this particular company is a chip company, and their RFQ process was manual, with about 30 people touching it before they could actually get a quote out. And we automated it and reduced the individual touch points from down to 10 to 15 and improved the response time significantly. So you guys know that if you have an RFP or an RFQ, faster you can respond to it with a good price, the higher probability you're going to get the deal. It's all about automation of manual processes. Another area which ties back to the partnership deals that we're signing is around what we call the managed service business or BPO business. So if you look at a company, one of our partners like Accenture, $62 billion of revenue, right? 450,000 plus people, of which 300,000 of their people are in India. And what are they doing? They're doing what's called managed services. So what happens is they'll walk into a company in Chicago and they'll say, you have 100 people that are doing this. And it's a process. And they say, if you outsource that to us, we'll manage it for you. And instead of over the next 5 years, it costing you $28 million with benefits and payroll and everything in Chicago, we'll do it for you for $14 million. Company says, I'll take that off my books in a minute, give it to Accenture, let them run it. They do it with less expensive people in India, and they do it with brute force. What we're doing now is we're actually taking those processes and we're automating them to further improve the margins for companies like Accenture and further improve the results that go back to a large company. And so this particular case study, we took a process that had 70 people with 43 operational processes, all manual. Let me fill in the spreadsheet and send it to somebody. Let me send a text message to this guy. Let me open up this email and read it. And we actually automated the process to be able to reduce the number of people from 70 to 32 while handling a 210% increase in the number of orders, okay? This dropped money directly to the bottom line of the BPO operator, which in this case was Accenture. And the customer benefits of being able to have an order deliver faster ended up providing about $3 million of customer benefit to the actual end customer itself. So the reason I tell you about this is a big part of our business going forward. We are knee-deep in this whole BPO business. In India, in Mumbai, we've had it there for 10 years. It makes it much easier for me to have boots on the ground in India locally to be able to deal with these companies and their people. And so we've been traveling there a lot, working a lot, and we think that the opportunity of expansion with regard to this BPO business is going to be great. And by the way, we're not changing our product just to be able to fit the BPO. It's a perfect fit. So if you look at what happened in 2024, we refocused our marketing strategy based upon these partners. We delivered a new product extension to market, which is Unity Central. We executed the rollout with Citibank, and we actually executed our Accenture BPO launch with our first Accenture customer. And again, we're signing new partners on this channel strategy. What are we looking to do in 2025? We're certainly going to be expanding the financial services market. We're going to be really working hard on the BPO market. I mean, the leverage that we're going to be able to get from that, guys, is really exciting. And then we're going to continue to work on a direct sales standpoint around supply chain. And then we're going to also continue to really focus on the AI strategy that we've got. We really think that this curated data set that we have in our Unity Central product is going to be an important part of the go-forward AI plan, and you're going to see a lot more from us about that. We also closed a financing about 6 weeks ago. We closed $1.1 million first tranche of a $1.5 million financing. It's a life deal. And yes, we still have that open, and we are in the process of closing a second tranche. So if anyone would like to have a deeper discussion about that, we would love to have a conversation with you about it. Capital structure, 64 million shares outstanding. Management insider beneficial ownership is still at 25%. Very dedicated team, really focused on kind of the growth area. Again, I think it's important to understand that our recurring revenue grew at 30% CAGR over the past 3 years. We had lost a large customer that kind of put some pressure on our ARR, and I think we've kind of made that back up, and you're going to start to see some growth there. The traction continues to go. Again, it's a very sticky solution. The revenue upside by now selling where we were in with our Velocity product and moving that over into Unity Central with the AI focus is going to be interesting. And then our financial highlights, again, I want to focus on the fact that we continue to focus on EBITDA and getting the company to a profitable state. We're balancing this juggling act of a lot of opportunities and the need to spend money on that to drive revenue and also getting to EBITDA positive. Great management team. Charlie's here, our CFO. And I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have. Yes.
You have a pretty impressive list of logos.
We do.
Your total revenue, how many customers derived of those logos derived that revenue last year approximately?
Yeah, so you're talking about revenue distribution across those companies. Again, careful with regard to NDA, but Citibank certainly was our largest customer that generated a pretty decent percentage of that, and then the rest of it is equally spread. So from a customer concentration standpoint, we don't have anything from a concentration standpoint that should cause alarm other than the Citibank agreement that we have that is making up a pretty decent piece of that. As we land a few more banks, that'll start to dissipate across. Okay, 1 minute left. No, Apple's not our largest customer, but they are one of our customers. Yeah, we work with them in their supply chain. Yes.
What's the terms of the contract or what's left with Citibank?
Yeah, so the question is what's left with Citibank? Again, I think we need to be careful on that, but it's we've got another year and a half, I think, Charlie, on the.
Well, the way Citi actually normally does it, they do a 8-year contract with software vendors, flat revenue for the first 4, and then an additional discretion extension after the 4.
Yeah.
What we just did with them is we're actually progressive pricing, and they have kept that in. And quite frankly, what Andy mentioned as far as the biggest slowdown was actually Citi internally. I'll take it offline, but they totally blew up their compliance and risk management group, headhunted and brought guys in. So the delay was really on the Citi side, not on the other. But part of that program, they have not only renewed up for years 3 and 4, but also they want to extend discretion, but there is parameters for it, including our announcement in 2 years.
Would that be an actually extension? Would that be something you guys would put in a press release?
Well, I think we could, but we wouldn't be able to say, call them out specifically, but say a large bank, yeah.
Let's put it this way. That public announcement from American Banker, we put to show the industry problem, city asked us to take it off. So we have to be very careful, even in terms of considering the neighborhood that they reside in. So you can imagine.
But one of the things that I want to impress upon you with the fact is that Citibank is viewed as a real leader in this space. If they adopt, others will come, and every single bank in the United States has this issue. There's 4,200 banks in the United States, albeit there's kind of the top 30 that make up a lot of the volume, but the balance of these mid-market and smaller banks and community banks have the problem, and we have a strategy to help them go solve that.
And that's the key within the teaming partners. The term to take away is cross-pollination. Is we don't go into the other banks, but entities like Tata, Capgemini, and others who are familiar and have seen the results within Citi and have been paid, then take that out to other banks who are experiencing similar risk management issues. They already have been approved at those other banks. Now they look at it. We get the license revenue, they get the professional services, and anybody's seen those sort of contracts like what Tata did, Citi, what was it, 1.5 billion in professional services? But what they didn't have was the licensed software to be actually able to resolve the problems. That's where the ROI, we have some case studies as far as the 10X within Citi. That came from actually within Appian and one of the guys on our advisory board, Jay Cherry.
So our time is up, guys. I'm getting, yeah, so come on over to the booth if you guys want to talk more. Thank you. Thank you.